Capcom presents.
Ready?
So I know that some people have paid attention to this and others don't, but I just wanted to put out my feelings on this movement and what it means to me more personally than anything. Not really that I feel like I'm gonna give it any more traction, but you know,
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
try to get this thing back in the stance. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was a versus game on arcade cabinets way back in the 90s, and for me, I think it's part of one of the super nostalgic things. I was born in the early 90s, and the art style of that game, and I guess mostly the X-Men in it, to be honest. I mean, there's other heroes, but mostly the X-Men and the X-Men cartoon at the time, and just the cool things that were happening in that game. It was really, really awesome to walk into a place and just hear all, how loud the cabinets were, and it's a weird culture. It's not weird, but it's a culture that's not around anymore, arcade gaming. And it's something that, even though I am not personally a very good fighting game player, I really do, I think it's pretty much the epiphany of, like a skilled game. It's all on you. You know what I mean? There's nobody to blame except your connection, right? Nothing to blame when it gets down to it but yourself and how good the other person is. It's a 1v1 scenario, and it's about as pure as it can get. I know there's things that are unbalanced in them, but overall, as far as gaming is concerned, I personally kind of cherished it and put it way up there, right? As, hey, this is like the epiphany of skill. And Marvel vs. Capcom 2 obviously has its balance issues and whatnot, but it's part of what I would consider the history of the fighting game community, and has inspired a whole lot of things throughout time. Most versus games take things from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and back then things were a little weirder with developers. Everyone was real secretive about things, and now it's obviously we're taking such inspiration from each other, and there's a little bit more behind the scenes. Everyone respects each other, and we all compound this. And if you didn't know, Maximilian started a whole campaign for freeing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and in this he talks about Michael B. Jordan said, I'd really like this to come back out again. If you didn't know, when the NBA Finals was happening, they had this graphic, which is literally the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 character selection screen, which is really cool too. Someone's got the music playing down there. Yeah, man, it was a weird time because nowadays you just Google stuff, right? Who's the best, how to do combos, how to do this. Back then you had to go through the grit and the grind, it did come out on console ports eventually, but it was just different. It was, things were heated. People really throw hands in the game and out the game. Not that the culture wasn't toxic in a certain way, but it's just, that's the way it was. You know what I mean? That's not the fact I'm trying to say we need to preserve. What I'm trying to say is I am all for, even though I am ass at fighting games, for a ultimate port of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 to finally make its way back to being purchasable in some kind of fashion. It was my childhood, a huge part of it. It was a lot of my friends, everyone. I mean, most of the people I know of this game. You know what I mean, in one way or another. And I think it would be a cool thing for it to come back, because the new generation's playing, fighters, and now on Strive, and the people who played Smash and whatnot. It'd be, to give it one last hurrah. And honestly, if it does well enough, maybe perhaps them giving another swing in the future towards a another Marvel vs. Capcom. And I know Infinite did not go well. If you guys didn't know, they did release like a 4th Marvel vs. Capcom, and it just did not go well. But it was also not supported very long. So in my eyes, I mean, Marvel's hot. I mean, I think the whole thing with COVID and everyone taking a break from it is actually going to make Marvel a lot. I think it's going to let it extend even longer. You know, I felt like we were kind of getting burnt out towards the end, but I feel like it might have reinvigorated people's, you know, interest. And I know MCU will push whatever they're going to push on it, but if I could get a Marvel vs. Capcom 4, 5 technically, then I'm all for it. And I've seen some people say the things like, oh, you casual people, you know, you'll play for a week, get your cheeks clapped, and then you'll be out. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys...
You're missing the point.
The point is, the casuals will always be the reason why these games continue to be made, because we're fronting the bill up front. I mean, you are too, and you stay with it, and you're the ones that need to be supported long term because you need the balances and whatnot. Now, I would say there are some things about Marvel vs. Capcom that I honestly probably just preserve it. Like, just leave it exactly the way it is. If there's a way they could add a mode to where it's like, I don't want to say balance, but like, I don't know, maybe there's tournaments with like low tiers and high tiers. Maybe it's like a point system. Like, you make a team with so many points. You've seen those posts where you got like $15. You make a team from these people. You know, those kind of posts you've seen online. If they could do something like that, and that way people don't have just the top tiers all the time, and we see some cooler teams. Which the thing is, like, if you get people like me, I'm not gonna be picking the you know, the Magnetos, the Psylocke, Storm, Sentinels. I'm picking like Juggernaut and Sabretooth, and just, you know, really ultimately not very good characters, but I just want to play as them. You know what I mean? So I mean that was the coolest thing to me, just seeing all these characters. You know, and people ask, you know, what's your main? I don't think I had a main back in the day. I just smashed buttons, and that's all I kind of want to do, man. I kind of just want, hey, let me buy this on my Xbox and my PlayStation for like $40, maybe 45. Let me buy it on both. Let me just mash some buttons with my friends and show some support and get to watch some updated netcode, some, you know, fleshed out graphics a little bit more, you know, like a remastered. Let me just see the stuff that was so nostalgic for me and a whole lot of other people. Let me see that come back one more time. You know, let's get the ultimate port. Like, it's been quite a while, and I think it's time that we start paying a little bit of homage to these goats of gaming. You know, there's been so many remasters and like redos. Like, I mean, Dark Souls just got that whole game remade over. You know what I mean? Like, that was amazing. I haven't played it, but I've seen it, and it's like, that is visually amazing. And I mean, I wouldn't say that per se. I don't want people to go back and remake all the sprites or whatever, but I'm just saying HD, you know? So I don't want to go on too long, not too long, but that's really what I want to say here. Is, you know, one last time, baby, take us for a ride. Capcom, Disney, Marvel, it's time, baby. Take me for a ride.